Hey everybody, this is Carlo from Forge Glory Custom Leathercraft, and have a look. I am making a fender bib, and this one fits a 2004 Harley Davidson Road King. And the art that they wanted was this basket weave, and these red dots are for me marking where I'm going to put the holes in to accommodate the screws that it's going to go into. But I haven't done a video in a while. I was sitting here thinking, you know, the basket weave is a unique thing. Now, a lot of people would look at a basket weave and think it's really easy. But it's actually harder than you think. To get the basket weave completely lined up, it takes a little bit of skill, because as you see, as I go up, I'm not starting over on the edge, I'm starting in the middle. And there's a reason for that. You know, a 1/2 millimeter either way on each one of these stamps will throw everything off and make everything look bad. And so when you've messed up, it's a lot easier if you go down the center of the line to, because you can always squeeze in this side, squeeze in that side, and keep your center looking the most uniform. And if the edges are kind of messed up a little bit, that's fine, because you're going to go over it, and I'll show that at the end of the video. You're going to go over the edge and you won't be able to see the edge as much. But yeah, so you want this center part looking as uniform and as straight as possible. And that is actually, it takes some time. I took a big piece of leather the first time I got this, and I just sat there and I tried it over and over and over again until I figured out how to get things as straight as possible and lined up. So you're doing these little micro adjustments down the center, trying to get the center is lined up, and that way the edges which aren't as noticeable, they take a little bit of a hit on straightness. I had gone how many years? You know, basket weave is a pretty common thing in leather work, but I actually went, I want to say 8 years. No, yeah, about 7 years without anybody ever asking for a basket weave on anything. And so I didn't even have the tool to do it. And then I had one of you ordered she had ordered a heat shield from another company, and her seat had a basket weave on it, and she wanted basket weave put on the heat shield she had purchased. And the best I could do for her was to take the heat shield, pretty much sew on a thinner piece of layer on top of the heat shield, with my basket weave pattern on it. And so that was the first time that I had ever purchased the basket weave stamp. And I'm using what is it? I don't know if you can see the letters there. It's or the nomenclature. It's X500-2. I got this one. I want to say I got it from Springfield Leather Company. That's where I usually get all my tools and my stamps from. But yeah, and I saw this one basket weave tool, which I think looks awesome, but nobody's wanted it yet. Not that I've advertised, but to the several people who have wanted basket weave, you know, I'll tell them, there's this tool out there I was willing to get where the center is actually a skull. So you get the basket weave effect with the skull in it. I think it looks awesome, but they're like, well, the rest of my stuff already has a basket weave on it. And so I want it to match better. And I'm like, okay, not a problem. So after all, you know, it's not about what I think is cool. It's about what you think is cool and what you want on your bike. And that's kind of my niche, as they would say, is that you get what you want. You know, instead of choosing from products that were made for 10,000 other people, you get to choose from, you know, I'll create a product for you. I'll do it the measurements that you want, and I'll do the art that you want. And yeah, after a while of doing this, got to shake out my hand. Starts to cramp up a little bit. I don't know if you can tell, but this one right here is a little wider than this one right here. We're talking like very, very minute difference. But if I keep doing that, and then it's just going to keep getting wider and wider and wider. And so if the ones that I do up here have to close that gap in so that it's not noticeable. And the camera is mounted to the table, so I hope you're not getting too much, it's not making the video too shaky. There. And as you see, there's a little bit of a weave to it, or a little bit of a swerve to it, and that's fine, you know, because if you ever looked at a real basket, that's, you know, that happens. I think the first thing I made with a basket weave, like when I was practicing, oh, I messed it up so bad. It was pretty bad. But it was practice. And as you see, before I started on this project, I did the two different ways that you can do the basket weave, and I think this one looks better, so I went with that. But, you know, I had to practice it a little bit to make sure I knew how to line it up before I started, you know. Always practice on a scrap piece of leather before you screw up somebody's actual product. You don't want to get halfway through, realize that you screwed it up, and then, you know, you got to throw away the leather or sell it as a discount, as a mistake, which, you know, some people don't mind the mistakes. They see them and they're like, oh, hey, that's a little cheaper and the mistake is very minute. Doesn't matter to me. I don't have any mistakes on the website now, but usually whenever I do have a mistake, I just put it up as an as-is and throw it on the Ships Now collection. I didn't need to wet the leather that much because I'm just doing the edge, but yeah, I usually put my mistakes on the Ships Now collection. There's no mistakes on there now, but you know, I'll give them away at a lesser price. You know, because it is a mistake, and the person who originally purchased it wasn't wanting a mistake. They were wanting, you know, they were wanting it to look a certain way, and But somebody else might not mind the mistake, and, you know, you get something at a cheaper price. So I think it's kind of a win-win situation. I don't have to throw it away, and somebody goes off with a product they're completely happy with. But there you go. Now that's all done, and I need to, I'm gonna make the holes. So, you know, I have one pounding board underneath my granite, and that helps with the sound so it's not too loud when I'm pounding on stuff. And then I'll keep this one underneath it whenever I'm not putting holes in anything. But whenever a hole is needed, this is the pounding board I use for the holes. So like I said, these red dots, those are to tell me where the holes need to go. And if you want me to make you a fender bib, you know, I just need to know the distance between the center of the holes, and we can get it done. And so for one like this that has the 3 holes, I need to know the distance between the center of these 2 holes. And then you put that center there. And then I need to know the perpendicular distance from the center of those 2 holes down to this hole. So that's how you measure for a fender bib that has 3 holes. If it just has 2 holes, you know, one here, or if it just needs 2 holes, one here, one down here, I just need to know the straight line distance. Usually around the bottom hole, I usually put the hole closer to the edge, but this patron wanted it a little up further. When this is done, it's actually going to get some, it's going to get a black stitching along the edge, and it's going to be dyed in black, which I think I'm going to go ahead and do now. I need my gloves. There we go. Gloves are a wonderful thing. My skin is leather. I mean, it's not tanned, but, you know, your skin, like leather, will absorb the dye. And here's my dye. And for big projects, I just, you know, I take a sponge, you know, a normal kitchen sponge, cut it in half, dip it in the dye, and just let it go. I used to use a dauber. So this is a dauber. It has a wool tip, and you just dip it in the dye and rub it around. But on these things where the whole thing is one color, monochromatic, I found that using the sponge takes a lot less time. There we go. And now I'm going to make this edge smooth. And the way you do that, there's a little spot that didn't get any dye. Well, first this is just a regular horsehair brush, 100% horsehair. Kiwi, you know, the stuff that you polish your shoes with, same brush. And so if you purchased my products in the past and you need to give it a little more of a shine to it, just pick up one of these brushes. They sell them at Walmart, and pretty much any shoe store will have a horsehair brush. So you just pick one up, and kind of like polishing your shoes, don't use shoe polish. Do not use shoe polish on my leather. And I'll tell you why here in a second. But yeah, the same kind of brush that you would polish your shoes with. You use the same brush. Make it nice and shiny. And when you're doing this, it's not about the pressure, it's about the friction. And so you don't need to sit there and really press down on it. You know, you're just running over it really fast. Now, the reason why you don't want to use shoe polish on my leather is, especially if you have any art. If you have any art on the leather and you put shoe polish on it and you brush over the art, it's going to bring the shoe polish onto the art. But shoe polish is, you know, most shoes have a coating of plastic in the color that the shoe is supposed to be. So usually shoes aren't dyed. The leather of the shoe isn't dyed the color that you want. It has a plastic coating over it, which it hides all the imperfections and, you know, the bug bites, and, you know, if the cow ran into a fence and he's got a scar, you know, and they do that so that they can use more of the leather, and the plastic that they coat the leather in is cheaper than the leather. So it's cheaper to do that than to buy leather that is whole grain, that has no scars, no, you know, what I would, you know, I use A-grade leather. And so shoe companies will use, A-grade means how many scars it has on it, how many scars and imperfections it has on it. And so a shoe company can actually use like the leather that has the brand on it, that has the cow's brand on it. They can actually use that because they're coating the leather with the plastic, so you'd never know that the brand was there. Now, if I did that, you would see the brand here, and it doesn't matter what I do to it, the brand is in the leather because I'm not coating it with plastic like shoe companies do. You know, and I'm not saying that's a, you know, that's a bad thing to do. But that's why you can't use shoe polish on my leather. Now, I do have a guarantee on my leather to where if it fades or whatever, you can send me the piece back and I will re-dye it for you for free. You just have to pay the shipping to me, and you have to pay the shipping back to you. I will re-dye it, I will condition it, and I will put a finish on it, a protective finish on it, all for free. But if you want to do that because, you know, you don't want to pay for the shipping, or, you know, you're just really interested in doing it yourself, which is cool. You know, a lot of people, you know, the more people into leather work, you know, the more interest in leather work there's going to be. And so that's just going to make my business grow. But, you know, just contact me and just say, hey, you know, I want to do it myself. I will tell you I use Fabings for most of my dyes. So I'll just tell you, you know, the type of dye that I used. And, you know, and I use different brands. If you're getting something that has white on it, that's the Angelus white. But yeah, just contact me and I'll tell you, you know, what color dyes I use, and you can go out and buy a 4-ounce bottle. I think they're like $8, and it comes with a dauber when you buy the 4-ounce. Let me show you. Oh, that's not it. So here's an example of a 4-ounce. This is the light blue leather dye made by Fabings. So you can buy this, and I think it's like $8. They got them at Hobby Lobby, Amazon. You can Google it. You can get it from Springfield Leather Company, where I get it from. I mean, I buy them in the gallon. but they do sell them in the 4-ounce bottles, but I buy a whole gallon because I use enough of it that, you know, I'm not worried about it going to waste. So I buy it in the gallon jugs. But yeah, you know, you can do it yourself, or you can send it to me. Just pay for the shipping to me, and you got to pay for the shipping back from me. Whatever the shipping costs, just put that much in cash. And, you know, I'll do it for free. There we go. All right, so what I just did is, a lot of people will, what they'll do is they'll wet the edge with water and then use this, this tool to smooth out the edge. Because when you cut the leather, it's not a really smooth edge. You know, leather has pores and whatnot. And so this is, you know, this is to smooth out your edge, so it's a nice smooth edge. And a lot of people use water, but you know, it's wet with the dye, so skip the water, skip the extra step, and just use dye. That's what I always think. I don't know if you can see it, but yeah, this edge didn't get as smooth out. Sometimes you'll have to go over it 2-3 times. If when you cut the leather, if there's like little hairs of leather sticking out, you can just take a lighter, burn those little hairs off, and then do this. There we go. Not smooth here. There we go. I want to get that edge smooth. It just gives it a nice finished look. There we go. Well, folks, let me know what you think. Write your opinions down in the comments. Oop, I want to get the... And it's like, you know, I really don't need... I'm going to need a key tip. I really don't need to dye the holes. Because, you know, it's going to have a bolt in it. So it really doesn't matter. But I do it anyway, just to, you know, give it a nice finished look to it. Didn't cost me anything extra. And this one is going to get suede on the back. And so I'm going to glue it to some suede, and then I'm going to put a stitch line around the whole edge and stitch it on. Anyway, folks, you know, that's my fender bit. That's how I do it. I love doing it. I love the different art decisions that you guys make that make these things look wonderful. I can put on them just about any piece of art that you want. Just contact me with the art, and I'll put it on. Give me the measurements for your bike for the holes. Some bikes, you know, you'll only have one hole, and then there's no way, you know, there's no bolts for where the seat goes, and so I can put Velcro on the back to hold it on. That, you know, that's what we do with the Scout fender bibs for the Indian Scout. And for a couple other motorcycles too. And, you know, as I always say, you know, the suede that I put on the back, it is softer than this leather. I have this leather on my bike. You know, I have fender bibs, I have, you know, everything on my bike. And it's never scratched my leather, but a lot of people, they really like the fact that the suede is a little softer because they really don't want their bike to get anything on there. You know, it's never scratched my bike, but, you know, just for the peace of mind, you know, I offer it. You do have to pay a little extra, I think, for a fender bib like this. It's only like $25 extra if you didn't get it with a stitching. He had purchased the fender bib with black stitching, and so to apply the suede is only $25 instead of I think it's $50 if you didn't get the suede. But don't quote me on that. Look at the website. Anyway, folks, remember here at Forge Glory, we're all about the leather, your design, and my shop coming together to make some awesome products. Have a good day.